Hey, sickos. I'm LJ.
And I'm Toe.
And this is
Say Psycho right now.
Hey, beautiful people.
Hello. Welcome back.
So, last week, Toe kind of led the journey with our episode.
Yeah, Toe brought you another fucking sicko.
Yeah, it was a monstrosity.
If you're still here, we just want to say we love you.
Yeah, and I know we say that every week, but
after this one and Dennis, I think that really especially applies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the one I have for you today, there's a tiny bit of death, no murder.
Okay.
Some spook. It's
a little bit of spook.
So I guess we're just gonna jump right into it. This is going to be the first episode in our Not Outdoorsy installment.
Are we done with Florida Man?
Oh no, Florida Man will be ongoing.
Florida Man's forever.
Florida Man's forever, baby.
Okay, great.
But so is Not Outdoorsy. So every once in a while, we'll do our true crime, whatever, and then I'll mix in a Florida Man installment or a Not Outdoorsy installment. Okay. The Not Outdoorsy installment is going to be, either spooky stories, probably more focused, on spooky stories, really, that give you reasons to just not be outdoorsy. Yeah, and that's exactly where this one it makes you not feel outdoorsy. It kind of makes me want to go there, kind of, because I'm a lunatic, but also I don't like bad juju energy, and I feel like this island would have bad energy.
Yeah, let's not do that.
So I don't want to do that, but I'm curious.
Yeah, well, you know what they say about curiosity.
It kills all the cool cats.
And
kittens.
Don't sue us, Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin, TM. Oh my God. So this story takes place on an island that's located 11 miles from Mexico City. The only way to this island is via the ancient canal system that was cultivated by the Aztecs.
Love that about the Aztecs.
They were great at that. The Aztec Empire was the first to start developing the area, building a system of man-made islands called chinampas and a canal system for farmers to be able to navigate them. Yes. So according to a quote in the New York Post from Gerardo Ibarra, who is the co-founder of Ruta Origin, he said that during the time of Cortez, many people fled here to, I apologize in advance, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but I'm going to try not to, Xochimilco, and hid on the canals. A sustainable travel company in Mexico told the Post that a lot of these people were women and children hiding from the conquistadors, and many women killed themselves rather than be caught and raped at this point in history. Yeah, which is so sad to think about.
Not my favorite thing.
Now, this island, at the point in history that we're talking about, It only had one inhabitant, and that inhabitant was Don Julian Santana. Now, Don Julian, he was born in 1921.
Okay.
But he moved to the island by himself in the 1950s. It was largely believed that he did this for spiritual reasons in order to kind of live as a hermit, but this is more like speculation. What we do know is that he left his wife behind and started a new life on this island in seclusion, which, like, I know a lot of men who would do that if given the opportunity. Why get married if you hate your wife? I don't. No comprende. Anyway, he grew vegetables and only really left the island at this point to preach the gospel.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, we're in the 1950s at this point, and it was frowned upon for non-priests to preach publicly, like, in this way.
Okay.
And Mexico was and is densely Catholic, so he was largely shunned by the Catholic community, causing him to become more of a recluse. His preachings were also more liberal than what was standard at the time, especially in the Catholic Church.
Spooky.
Yeah, and so he was even known to be regularly beaten when he would go into town to preach.
Jesus.
Yeah, which, like, you know, maybe don't beat people for Jesus. Like, I'm just throwing that out there.
Don't beat people for Jesus.
Yeah. So Santana stops going out as much at this point because, you know, he's not looking forward to his holy beatings.
I'm sorry. Stop.
Oh, God.
Guys, we've been recording for a minute.
I'm literally getting delirious at this point. It's midnight. Gotta be up for work in like 4 hours. It's fine. We're doing great.
This is how we do it.
Woo!
Please don't sue us.
So, again, no way to segue into this gracefully. We always have, like, the worst tangents at the worst time. At this point in the narrative, Santana discovers the body of a little girl who drowned in one of the canals on the island. And he states that she was likely swimming with her friends or sisters, and that when the current took her, she drowned and washed ashore. But that said, this has never actually been confirmed. No body was ever confirmed to have been found. Like, we're just kind of taking his word for it.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like taking any man's word for anything. But
bitch, I know. Oh, yeah. I just feel like that's a little suspect. Like, you know, especially after all this time has passed now, still nobody has been able to verify that any remains actually.
Yeah, he lying.
So, anyway.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I don't know. It doesn't sit right for me that no remains have ever been verified. Now, Santana, being very religious and superstitious, there was a doll that had washed up on shore with this girl's body, allegedly.
Okay.
Allegedly.
We don't like dolls.
No, we've been down the doll path before. And he made the executive decision to hang the girl's doll from a tree to appease her spirit so that she could play with it. Now, Santana claimed that after the girl died on the island, that strange things began happening. He would hear voices and whispers, and he even claimed that the doll would move from where it was hung to other tree limbs where he did not personally move it. Remember, he's the only one on this island.
Okay.
Concluded that the island was being haunted by the girl's spirit and that she was malevolent or like had ill will against the island and potentially against him. So he determined that the singular doll that was hanging from the tree was not appeasing her spirit. In an effort to appease her, he would then begin at this point to venture out to neighboring areas with the goal of conducting trades in town.
Okay.
Yeah, so at this point, he stopped going into the community to preach. He'd been recluse for some time. He knew that his preachings weren't really getting him anywhere. But it had been enough time to where, you know, that had kind of boiled down. You know, it simmered down, rather. So when he went into town, He would dig through the trash for any dolls that he could find, and he would bring those back to the island and would hang them from the tree limbs. Now, since he got these dolls from the trash and never fixed them, many of these dolls were missing limbs or missing eyes. They'd have, like, decaying or rotting, like, weather-worn clothes, and they were outside being hung and exposed to the elements, so, like, bugs would nest in their eye sockets of these dolls and stuff. So they're just, like, real creepy looking things.
Not my favorite thing.
No. The dolls that he found in better condition, he used to play dress up with, and he built them a home in the form of a shed. And he even had a couple of dolls that he affectionately named. The two that were his favorites were named Munecas and Augustina.
Oh, great.
Yeah. By 2001, thousands of dolls were strung from the trees on the island. Now, when he went into town to collect dolls, eventually, over time, he would begin explaining to the locals why he was doing so. He told them about the dead girl that he'd found on the island, and during the 1990s, he actually began to offer tours of his island for additional income. His interest was developing, like, by neighboring communities that he would venture into to find dolls. They were taking interest in, like, hey, why is this guy foraging? What's this island about? Haunted island? Like, I want to see that.
Yeah,
you know?
Of course.
So people would actually eventually start bringing their own, like, dilapidated dolls that are worn out and, you know, that they're ready to toss. They would bring those to the island and use those dolls as a form of currency in exchange for Don Julian's fresh-grown vegetables, which he's still producing on the island.
Ew.
So he's getting what he wants, they're getting what they want, and he's, like, these people are also getting exposure to the island that they're interested in.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Santana said that the dolls, this increase in dolls, did appease the girl's spirit for some time.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, you're not going to like this. So, Santana claimed he began to find numerous dolls floating down the, again, this is a tough word for me, so I apologize, but I believe it's Xochimilco Canal, which flowed down the lake to his island.
That's a word, all right.
Yeah, and so these dolls were supposedly flowing down that canal to his island. And he claimed that at this point, the hauntings taking place on the island became even more severe.
Great.
Yeah, some of the things that he reported are that he would hear footsteps near him and whispers of, "I want my doll." But as we know, this was a secluded island, and no one was there who would have been, you know, creating this. The only option would be spirit, essentially. And there were mixed opinions from the people who have visited the islands, from people who visit the islands today. Some people believe, like, hard and fast that the dolls are evil. Like, they're possessed, they're freaky, she just literally shuddered.
I hate dolls now.
I know. They're not my fave. So that's one stance on the dolls. And then other people believe that these dolls safeguard the island. That they offer the
were
island
any of these dolls as big as 40 inches?
Not reportedly. Loud.
If you don't know what we're talking about, see our Robert the Doll episode.
40 inches of pure terror, boy.
Absolutely. Respectfully, Robert.
I'm sorry, Robert. Thank you, Robert. Please.
Yeah.
Please, thank you. What are all my polite words? I need, like, an inventory so I don't get haunted into oblivion. So, at this point, okay, so many locals say that the spirits on the island come alive at night and these dolls whisper to each other. And they claim to have seen the eyes of these dolls move, while other people who come to the island, they bring their own dolls as a token of respect, and they even will go to the island specifically with dolls as an offering of sorts, and will ask for blessings or miracles from spirit in return.
Great.
Yeah.
Like that.
Now, in 2001, this was the 50-year anniversary of when Don Julian Santana allegedly found the girl's body washed up in his island in one of the canals.
Oh, okay.
Now, in the exact same spot, 50 years later, he was found drowned after suffering a heart attack. This resulted in extensive media reporting and increased public interest, as you can imagine.
Why don't fucking ghosts know how to act?
I don't appreciate you drowning him in the spot where he thought he saw someone drowned. Demons. Talking to you. Oh, we don't love it.
God. Send help.
So, now today, if you leave from the Embarcadero Quimanco ferry terminal, you can take a 4-hour trip by ferry to see the island where there is now a museum. Anastasio Santana Velasco was Don Julian Santana's nephew, and he was in possession of the island initially after Don Julian passed away, and he began offering paid boat tours himself in 2002. These boat tours start in Mexico City, which, again, like at the beginning of this episode, we said was about 11 miles away.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, in 2019, Anastasio also died. And now his son, who would be Don Julian Santana's great-nephew, he's the one that looks after the island at this time.
Okay.
His name is Rogelio Sanchez Santana.
Great.
Rogelio has elected not to live on the island.
Yeah, probably a smart choice. Good job, Rogelio.
Yeah, good job, Rogelio. Instead, he lives a modest life on another island about 20 minutes away. He has a wife and 3 children. And when he has been asked by the media who he intends to leave the island to, because, you know, he has 3 children of his own, he says he intends to leave the island to the dead, which I think is a valid option at this point. Yeah. Now, that's pretty much the story in general of Don Julian Santana. Specifically, this is the Island of the Dolls, or known in Mexico as Isla de las Munecas. But what I do want to touch on is some theories. Okay. So we have a few theories about what's actually going on this island. Okay, so we've got possibilities here. Some of the theories that I either came across or thought of are that the ghost of the girl who drowned haunting the island, I'm sorry, the ghost of the girl who drowned and is now haunting the island. You know, the first most obvious is maybe he did find her. You know, maybe the remains just weren't recovered. Is that what I think is happening? Personally, no. I feel that the remains would have been found, probably, if this were the case.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's hard to say, but I just feel like with the type of attention that this place has had from the media, that it would have drawn enough attention to where if qualified people wanted to find the remains,
they would have found them. Yeah,
that's just how I feel about it. Now, something that I thought of, and this is pure, just like me throwing an idea out there. I didn't see anything to possibly even begin to support this, but just something that I, thought of while I was reading through all of this is, what if he didn't actually find a dead girl in the canal, but maybe he was seeing the apparition of a girl who had died in the channel at another time, like in the time of the conquistadors.
Absolutely.
Like one of the children that was mentioned earlier, they said they would use the channels to hide from the conquistadors in an effort to avoid, rape and murder. Maybe he saw a little girl's apparition who had passed away and it felt real. And maybe that spirit truly does haunt the island because of something awful that happened to her there. Or,
yeah, I feel like it's probably like the most likely explanation.
Yeah, and thank you, Self, for coming up with that.
Great job. Go you.
There are a couple other options here. One that I think will probably be the easiest one for people to say, oh yeah, it might have been that, whether you believe in the paranormal or not. But we have to remain objective here. There's potential for mental illness, you know? I mean,
sure.
Certainly somebody could be schizophrenic or be, you know, bipolar with hallucinations if untreated and stuff like that. There are just any number of mental health issues that could have
come into play here.
Yeah,
for
absolutely. Sure. I also considered the fact that, you know, have you ever seen the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks?
Okay, so no, I'm like the worst movie person ever. I've also actually never seen Star Wars, fun fact.
Okay, we both suck at movies. However, I just kind of thought that this one was a classic. But hopefully listeners will largely know. I'm going to give you a general premise because I'm sure somebody listening will also not have seen the movie.
Okay, great.
The general premise is that the main character, his plane goes down, okay?
Oh, yeah, that should be something I should have seen.
Yeah, you should have seen that. You love planes.
I do love planes.
She does love planes. So, his plane goes down, right? And,
you have me at planes.
I know it, honey. I know. So, he's the only one who survives this crash, and he washes up ashore on an island. I can't recall how long he's there, but fam, it is an extensive amount of time. We're not talking days, we're talking years. Now, it was a UPS plane that went down.
Oh.
So,
do we know what kind of plane it was?
We don't, honey.
Can we?
I'm sure. Okay, she's going to look up.
Are we allowed to Google it?
You're allowed to Google it.
Thanks. I need to know.
So, it was like a UPS or FedEx plane, something of that nature.
So a cargo plane.
So, yeah. So, packages would, like, wash up over time. Anyway, at one point, one of the packages that washes up is a volleyball. And he gives this volleyball a face. And
okay, I've seen references to that.
Okay. Yeah, he names it Wilson. And he, like, befriends this ball. It's all he has. Anyway, my point being that humans are social beings. And Don Julian, remember, he was living largely in solitude, venturing into town only to be beaten up occasionally for...
It was a DC-10. Okay. Interesting.
So happy for you.
Yeah.
Now that we've scratched that itch.
It's a really old plane.
Okay.
I feel like it's probably a really old movie.
It is.
Okay, great. That checks out.
Okay. Perfect. Good talk. But yeah, humans are social beings, and, you know, Don Julian was living largely in seclusion for way too long.
So he needed a Wilson.
So, yeah, maybe his Wilson was the dolls. Maybe he was starting to just go a little bit of delirium, you know what I mean, from the solitude and just the lack of social exposure, you know?
Okay.
And then there's a widely believed, although, like, I'm sure the family of Don Julian probably disagrees with this take, but this is, among people who are familiar with the story, a lot of people tend to believe this option.
Okay.
They say that the evil spirits latch to the dolls, and that demons are essentially possessing Santana and making him, like, want for more dolls so that they can latch on to these dolls, essentially.
A lot of these check out.
Yeah. So, I don't think there's literally no way to say which one's which is true. It might be none of these.
Okay, yeah. That's, again,
yeah, also
a valid thing.
But, you know, we're touching on options. If you have an option that, you know, has popped into your little noodle,
absolutely. Shoot us a comment or a email or a DM or a smoke signal or...
God, I love a good smoke signal.
Yeah.
This is a good time
or a paper airplane.
She would love that so much.
Oh, I would love it so
She's
much.
like, I'm setting up a P.O. box right now.
Sure.
for paper planes.
For paper planes.
Plain origami only, please.
Oh my god.
The only form of fan mail that Toe will accept.
Absolutely. Thank you.
God.
Maybe we should set up a P.O. box. Maybe that's something we should do.
At some point, I feel like if people actually want to listen to us.
Yeah.
So we'll
should probably do it near my house because LJ's afraid of post offices.
That's a fact. I'm afraid of most places. I have like familiar places that I don't mind going. Yeah. And everywhere else I hate.
She's afraid of gas stations.
Easily my most hated is gas stations.
Yeah, matter of fact, this lunatic literally drives around with like 50 miles left till empty, and she's like, oh, this is fine. I can do all my commuting for the day on this.
Once I get to like 37 miles, that's when I start to be like, ooh, I should probably...
Yeah.
I'm going to need to fill that up. I can probably ride it for like 15 more miles, but I've really got to like, around then I definitely have to put something in.
37 miles is the cutoff.
I hate gas stations so
She's terrified of them.
So she's going to have to be the post office person. That is not my...
I mean, that's fair because you organize the emails into color-coded folders, so...
And I press the buttons.
Yeah, we all have our place in the world.
Absolutely, and the post office is not mine.
Absolutely. So with that, if you want to send us an episode or you just want to reach out and tell us that we suck, you can email us at saypsychorightnow@gmail.com, and LJ will promptly sort your email into a color-coded folder. We're on Instagram at saypsychorightnow. We are on Facebook. Are we on TikTok? We're on TikTok, but we're not like on TikTok. We suck at TikTok.
Like we have a platform there with like 2,000 followers from some old stuff that I've posted. Yeah. But we need to post more content on there. Feel free to follow because it's on our list of things to like build up and do. But yeah, we do have a TikTok. Also, Say Psycho Right Now. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Linktree. Actually, if you can become a Patreon, please consider it. It would help us out a lot. If not, the next best thing that you can do is engage with us on social media. Like and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Okay, well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Absolutely. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.
Oh no! Did we perform a fuckaroni?